grow up like that, it's amazing to see them.
Yeah, yeah. And you probably got doing what you know that. No, now look the body.
Well, yeah, no, absolutely. But
Put it
I
in my.
thought
Mhm.
coming out there,
It's got to be $12,000. I want to say it, but I don't know if it's my police.
Yeah, yeah,
That you might overlook the other alternative. Sometimes you got to go with first.
yeah.
But you will be
I got it.
I thought we'd get the night off.
military cemetery up in Harrisburg.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And she will be. But I like to put I don't feel comfortable with all these things.
Yeah. Well,
Sheriff, how are you?
Good to yourself.
providing
Crystal.
different opinions is not always
I still
bad.
Yeah.
Just giving them options. It's not like you're saying do this. It's like, you have another option here.
no, but
She's gonna call. He's gonna tell her. She's gonna call me back. I'm gonna tell her.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah,
that's what we want to be able to understand.
yeah,
What she claims is just not. I know that. I
yeah,
work with her today.
yeah, yeah. But I mean, if you present it, well, this is an option for you.
Exactly.
It's still their choice, right?
Presentation, right?
Right. Yeah, yeah, and it's their choice. You're not taking anything away from them.
Yeah.
You're only adding.
The other thing is that most of that walking money is in the casket.
Yeah.
No, that's
I did. I got it.
that's part of
I got it.
that's the old one.
That's what
Yeah,
we
that's
do.
2022.
Yeah.
And I know
put it on
that
there
my
as-
VA account.
Yeah.
Did I need to do that?
Yeah.
No. They will give up a place.
I don't know why.
I don't know why.
It looks like Arlington.
Oh wow.
It does. All Whitestone.
Everything's all lined up.
Yeah. When I was there, my
You were confused the other day when I was sitting at the light
Yeah.
forth in Bushville. I saw you go into your car and I honked my horn.
Oh.
I'm
Was waving and
What
waving and
kind of car
waving.
do you have?
I'm looking how the
Way to do it.
Yeah, yeah. There you go.
All right. Yes, I didn't know who it was.
Waving.
I got it by the by.
You looked over for a
Listen.
second and then you
Yeah.
Just hit me like.
Keep in mind, I have old eyes.
said,
No.
what did I do to her?
I didn't do anything.
In my what?
Don't say hello because I'm cool.
No. I
Not to be, but it happens.
I probably only had a couple. because
right
the whole time I was in college, I was married.
Encroachment, yeah, but
Yeah.
Um,
So
Frank just.
I mean, I never lived in dorms or
So you was off campus.
on
yeah.
That's right.
So
recommendation.
I had people that
be approved.
I hung around with who were in my classes, but
from
next semester they may not be.
No,
About
there
it
wasn't
being-
any.
Yeah.
We made sure we
He
fixed
did,
things
he said
Yeah.
all the way
this.
through.
Yeah.
Well, that's why I'm
So
kind of in
this
the dark
came-
about.
I don't even know if you knew about this. The
Well,
mayor,
even in seminary,
I mean, I don't know if
there
they knew about
there
it.
are probably
I got it from the mayor.
3 people, 4 maybe 4 people who I've had multiple classes with, but that's it. You know, and I really don't get to know them because,
I'm with
and especially these days when probably 80% of my classes were online,
Yeah.
so
So you didn't
not
really-
even in the same room with them.
That's
Yeah,
the way the world is.
yeah,
I support you on that 100%.
yeah.
Like,
No. No, but you know how they do this sometimes.
And time, life,
Yeah.
and
That kind of thing?
I was talking to him on the phone in the office there. Time.
wait for that.
Liverpool. You have to change there like that. No one.
Well, the hurricane today.
No one.
Yeah.
I was pretty white person.
All right. The Honorable Louis Campbell.
What's that? I almost got up.
Almost.
I love doing that, Louis.
I thought we had a special guest today.
I'm setting myself up for my next job. Joe Cheer, how are you?
To the,
Big self.
Good. Mark,
Mr. Brown?
how you doing?
I'm doing well, thanks. How are you?
Kenny,
Yes, ma'am.
nothing.
Just want to check out my name.
Yes,
That's Candy.
I want to see if you're paying attention.
Candy Pig. I'm a referee. What's that? I like it. What happened on that play?
Oh,
I've seen you do that.
We're in commercial space.
We're on for it. We're 100% on
A
it.
has to be removed.
Swearing in
Yeah, because they were sworn in
yesterday.
yesterday, and they're like the academy, they'll come before council.
We're actually going to do it next
Okay,
week.
so let
We
me go.
pushed it.
Okay.
About that? Can you use the word?
You still there, Tiger? Okay. I'm gonna start with
I thought we were.
Tiger's on the
Right
phone.
now, and the mayor was walking out the door. She said that. Well, he'll figure it out soon enough.
She's on the. Yeah, she's on speakerphone.
It is.
It was.
That's why I told you earlier, I thought your AC was fixed. No. Because it was cool in here, waiting for a part.
And Mayor,
Just for your duct?
Did you, Mark, did you realize the mayor
Greg, are you doing
has
like
now
a-
joined a mega softball?
Joined what?
Send that to me. When, not, it doesn't have to be right now.
Type it up and then I'll just forward it.
He's now an official Q.
Oh.
Is that the Korean? That's it. Yeah, that's the one you talked about before. They've been around a long time. Yes, sir.
Call the speech session order, please rise for the invocation. Followed by the pledge of the flag. Heavenly Father, we ask that you watch over this meeting and give us the wisdom to make the impactful decisions for our residents. Tonight, we also ask that you give comfort of your love to the members of the Sultana family as they mourn the passing of Taiba's stepfather. Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Okay. Mr. Brown?
Here.
Mr. Ettinger?
Here.
Mr. Pinnabone? Mrs. Rose?
Here.
Dr. Ruggles?
Here.
Ms. Sultana? Mayor Panto?
Present. We'll go on to the approval of the agenda. The only thing I would like to just mention is that there will not be a presentation or swearing in of the police officers this tonight. I did it yesterday. Our 5 new police officers started on the academy today, so they had to be sworn in yesterday. And we didn't.
I'll
can't-
second it.
You'll second it? Okay, thank you. Moved in second, discussion, roll call.
Mr. Ettinger?
Aye.
Mr. Pinnabone?
Aye.
Mrs. Rose?
Aye.
Dr. Ruggles?
Aye.
Mayor Panto?
Aye.
Mr. Brown?
Aye.
Ms. Sultana?
Okay, at this time, we call on our friends from the Alpha Phi Omega fraternity to make a presentation to City Council.
Excuse me. We have to, action on the minutes.
We'll get to that.
Okay.
Come up to the podium, give your name and address.
Good evening, Mayor Panto, and good evening to all the members of this council. My name is Saul Kapunan. I am the president of Alpha Phi Omega Alumni Association of Greater New York. We're actually, we're operating in the Northeast, especially in New York, New Jersey, here in Pennsylvania, and parts of New England. So we're here tonight to present our plans for our upcoming 100 years celebration. So it's going to be our centennial celebration. 2025 is our centennial year. Of course, owing our roots from our founding fathers who were part of this community 100 years ago in December 16, 1925. So let me go straight to the reason why I am here, along with my fraternity brothers right here, and my wife with me. So before we came here, we had like a 2-year discussion on what we really wanted to do on our centennial year. And that is, of course, going back to ground zero. So we are saying ground zero because the city of Easton has been the city that cuddled APO, or Alpha Phi Omega, for the last 100 years. It did not just stay here in the United States. Actually, it has grown to be a worldwide fraternity. There are currently 4 countries where there is like a membership for APO, namely, of course, the United States of America, Canada, the Philippines, and Australia. But talking about the alumni associations, it is worldwide. So when I say worldwide, it includes, of course, the 350 universities across the United States, the 250 schools and universities in the Philippines, and the 2 countries that I mentioned earlier, which is Canada and, of course, Australia. So going back to the ground zero that I am talking about, we really wanted to go back and give back to the community that cuddled our organization and hopefully leave a lasting legacy for posterity, for our children, for the future members of APO, for the future students of Lafayette College and elsewhere in the United States. We were founded here, and it is not by accident that we are here. Actually, APO is a continuation of scouting in the collegiate level. And with that in mind, the principles of leadership, friendship, and service is what brings us together. And that's, of course, what brings us tonight here in front of you, wanting to go back to the community, serve the community, and possibly partner with the city of Easton for more projects to come, and of course, for the ages to come, not only for our sake, but again, for our children and for posterity. So with that in mind, we wanted to ask this council if we can possibly erect a monument right here in the heartland of city of Easton. And as you can see right there, there's an obelisk. And many of you might be asking why an obelisk to begin with. It is actually going back to our roots. As we all know, Marquis de Lafayette he himself is a Mason. That's a Masonic symbol. And like I said, we're going back to our roots. Our founder, Frank Reed Horton himself, is also a Mason. And that means, by having that symbol, it is giving homage from where we came from. The city of Easton is actually dear to each one of the members of APO, and it will be forever as long as the city is here to have us and to allow us, of course, to do the things that we do best, and that is service to humanity. Yes, Mayor, and any questions?
We've been working with the APO group probably for about 1.5 to 2 years, And the obelisk, the location that we picked is down at Scott Park in a cluster of trees close to Larry Holmes Drive, so that people driving by will know that this is where APO started. And APO, of course, is the largest service fraternity in the world, and we appreciate you making this offer. But we need city council, since it's going into public property, we need city council to make a motion, and I'll move that we allow the Alpha Phi Omega fraternity to place the obelisk down at Scott Park.
Second.
Mayor, I hate to do
Are we
this.
doing it now? Or-
I hate to do this, but even though it's on as a presentation, it wasn't noticed
Oh, that's
as an
right.
action item. So,
We'll do it next meeting.
yeah, I think you gotta put it on the agenda. Yeah.
We'll do it next meeting.
Well, it's not-
Thank you so much.
Wait, it's on the backside, isn't it? It is, on the new business, yep.
Great job.
Thank you.
There you go.
It's on our, under new business is a resolution approving a right-of-way
Go
encroachment
back to the
agreement.
minutes, Mayor.
What's that?
Approving of
Well, I'll go back to that in a minute.
Yep.
So I guess we need to take it off the agenda.
Let me look at what that resolution says.
Okay.
Maybe there's a very minor change that we could
All right.
bootstrap ourselves.
We'll move back to the minutes of our June 25th meeting.
Move.
Moved.
Second.
And second, any additions, deletions, or corrections? Hearing none, we'll roll call, Madam Clerk.
Mr. Pinnabone?
Aye.
Mrs. Rose?
Aye.
Dr. Ruggles?
Abstain.
Mayor Panto?
Aye.
Mr. Brown?
Aye.
Mr. Ettinger?
Aye.
And Mrs. Sultana?
Okay, we'll move on to public comment on agenda items only. At the end of the meeting, you can speak on any items concerning the city of Easton, but at this time, it's on agenda items only because we didn't get to them yet. Seeing none, we'll move on to the consent agenda. There's no consent agenda. We'll move on to, there's no reports received by council, so we'll go to reports of the committees. Finance Committee, Vice Mayor Brown.
Mayor, I have nothing for this evening. We'll be discussing, on some things in the upcoming meetings.
Okay. Economic Development, Mr. Pinnabone.
Mayor, may I please go last? I'm having some technical difficulties.
Okay, Mr. Pinnabone. Next we have Planning and Coach Committee, Councilmember Rose.
Thank you, Mayor. In regards to last week, we had the Planning Commission meeting. It was very well attended. I was really proud to see the community show up. The warehouse proposal was removed from the agenda due to a discovery that there were unfortunately some missteps, which I was a bit disappointed with how the planning department handled the review process for the Wood Avenue warehouse proposal. I think there was a failure to properly evaluate the proposals and special exceptions that should have been thoroughly reviewed before advancing the proposal to planning. I have spoken directly with the mayor and city administrator and requested that a more robust process be implemented moving forward, because to ensure that these applications, especially those with significant community impact, are given careful, thorough, and transparent review that they deserve. Our residents expect and deserve nothing less. We have to hold ourselves to a higher standard. Easton's a growing city, and we have an obligation to advocate for the best projects possible from developers, ones that serve long-term needs of our community. I'm hopeful that this situation can be used as a catalyst for improved planning practices and that nothing like this is allowed to slip through the cracks again. I have not received an update on what to expect next regarding the warehouse proposal. It sounds like it may end up on the August zoning agenda, so please keep an eye out for announcements and the agenda. The next zoning hearing board meeting will be held on Monday, July 21st at 6 p.m. in this room, and the agenda is available on the city's website.
Just a question to Mr. Chair in reference to that. If it fails in the planning, it will come to council?
If the planning commission makes a motion to deny the approval based on, it will have to do so based on specifically identified deficiencies with references to the Saldo ordinance.
Okay.
And if it fails because of that, then the owner has a right to file an appeal to city council. but it's not like a de novo appeal. It's an
Yeah, that's
appeal,
totally different.
it's an appeal where they have to bring up specific reasons and rationale as to where they object to what the planning commission decided, and that would give better focus to the city council as to what it is reviewing.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, appreciate that.
Sure.
Okay, anything else, Councilman
That's all
Rhodes?
I have, thank you.
Public Safety Committee, Dr. Ruggles?
I have no report.
Public Works Committee, Mr. Ettinger?
I have no report tonight.
Administration Committee, Councilman Sultana?
Affordable housing to city residents, announcing some important updates. The board formally acknowledged the resignation of Dr. Ruggles as the city council representative, effective upon the conclusion of his council term in 2026. I acknowledge personally that during his tenure, Mr. Ruggles made significant contribution to Home Easton, particularly in advancing the organization's mission to expand affordable housing opportunities throughout the city of Easton. His leadership and advocacy were instrumental, leaving a lasting impact on the community. The board expressed its gratitude for his dedicated service. Thank you so much, Dr. Ruggles. The next thing is to ensure continuity in representation. The mayor, thank you for that, has proposed appointing Council Member Frank Pinnabone to fill the vacant city council seat on the board. His appointment would help maintain the council's active role in guiding Home Easton's strategic direction. The board will discuss and vote on this recommendation during the next meeting. In line with effort to broaden community representation, the board will evaluate an additional candidate for appointment, Jason Vanderberg, a representative from Greater Shallow. Mr. Vanderberg's nomination reflects Greater Shallow's deep commitment to affordable housing initiatives, particularly for underserved population. His first-hand experience would bring valuable perspective to the board's work. Both candidates will be reviewed for their alignment with Home Easton and their ability to contribute to ongoing projects. That's all I have, Mayor.
Thank you, Mrs. Sultana. Reporter, City Solicitor?
Thank you. Now that you've brought up the issue of the obelisk, I have a report. In reviewing what was item 14B, small b, you certainly have the tool here to approve this project, except I suggest if you look at what the resolution is, I cannot tell where exactly this obelisk is to be placed. It's entitled an encroachment agreement, which generally means it's on someone else's property, but encroaches upon the city. As far as I know, APO doesn't own any property on Larry Holmes Drive. So it would be probably more fitting for this to be a license agreement to allow it in this particular spot, but I don't know what the particular spot is. It refers to an Exhibit A as far as the drawing goes, but I don't see an Exhibit A in what I could pick up from
All right, we'll hold it off till
website.
next meeting. We'll make sure you get a map that shows where it's.
And where exactly it is, and I would recommend we probably, if we could use the word encroaching on the right-of-way, but we should probably be licensing to place it there with some language.
It's close to Larry Holmes Drive, but it's in Scott Park.
Okay, so we should identify where in Scott Park and probably maybe have a basis to allow the city, should the need arise, to require it to be relocated. And I have no other report besides that.
Okay. Report of the mayor. I just want to mention that this weekend on Saturday, it's not on Sunday, it's on Saturday, is Heritage Day. Heritage Day has always been on a Sunday for the last 30 years, so it's a little bit different. It's on Saturday. It gives people an opportunity to come here and then travel on Sunday if they have to travel, and gives them a day of rest before they go back to work on Monday. To me, Heritage Day is the finest festival in the city that the city has, because it celebrates our heritage, which is the public reading of the Declaration of Independence on July 8th in 1776. And it's also honors George Taylor, who signed the Declaration of Independence, who was a resident of Easton, and his house still exists at 4th and Ferry Street. I also want to mention that the fireworks will not be held on Saturday. The fireworks are being held on Sunday at 9:15, and they will be launched from the same place that they were launched when Heritage Day was in downtown, and that's at the Forks of the Delaware. So those people want to come downtown and see the fireworks up close, fine, but you should be able to see them from everywhere that you saw them before. We did try to put them at Lackner Heights, which is about 250 feet higher, but unfortunately, the Garden State Fireworks Company would not launch them from there. They said they could only launch up to 3-inch mortars, which would reduce our show to something more smaller. We go up to 5-inch mortars. So 5-inch mortars require to be 500 feet from a building, and of course Lackner is a neighborhood park, so there's a lot of houses close by. Also tonight, Mark and Lewis will be presenting the capital budget. I'll hold off on my comments till then.
Now that's gonna move to next week.
Yeah, next Tuesday.
Next.
And summer camp, the mayor's summer camp is in 2 weeks. The week of July 21st, 22nd, 23rd, and 24th. If you know anybody who wants to join, there's still room. And I did mention about swearing in the officers. We will swear them in at the next meeting as well. Avery Hutchinson. Yeah, well, when they get out of the academy.
Mayor, how old do the students have to be to join the camp?
They should be in junior high school.
Okay. So
8th
eighth,
grade or
ninth
more,
grade?
yeah.
Okay.
Mayor, when is your camp again? I apologize.
Excuse me?
When is your camp?
When is,
When is your?
July 21st, 22nd, and 24th, 3rd, and 24th.
I have a candidate
You
for
gotta use your microphone because there's people out there listening.
I'm talking to you.
No, you need to use your microphone. It's a
Mayor.
public meeting.
Okay.
I have on my report to talk
Okay.
about the press conference with the Iron Pigs. Can you take that one?
You could take it. Since I got in trouble for writing you, I didn't invite you. The other thing so we'll swear the police officers in December when they get out of the academy, before they get back out on the street. One of our officers has already been an officer before, so he will be he entered field training today, so he will be on the streets a lot sooner. That's the end of my report.
Mayor,
Mr. Capos.
I just want to clarify something. The mayor's camp that you host every year, that's also for high school students. So
Yes,
it goes all the way
Eighth grade
through
on
high
up.
school.
8th grade on up.
Okay, I'm sorry. I might have missed that, but just to clarify.
Councilmember Rose asked that same question.
I'm gonna make you an official. They have good ears.
I apologize.
Anything else?
Yeah,
So go,
I
Mr.
think did
Capos.
Councilman Pinnabone want to give his report before I go?
We'll just wait till after your report.
Okay, then just a couple items. Just a reminder, starting July 18th, the intermodal garage is going to be under maintenance. There's going to be no parking available for that, probably for 1 week. I think it's about 5 days. It's going to start on Monday, but we're going to start moving our vehicles the Friday beforehand, so we start mobilizing. We are sending out, we've sent out notifications to pass holders, and we're moving pass holders around. That's number one. Number two, on tonight's agenda for council's approval is a lease agreement between the city and K3 Holdings, which is the owner of the Social Security lot. It's on the agenda. That's going to open up, once improvements are done, about 75 spaces post 5 p.m. To about 7 a.m. for parking. It's hourly parking only, and then on the weekends as well. So it could potentially assist the city in some overflow parking that's needed. As part of the terms, and I can certainly ask questions when the resolution comes up, but it is a 50-50 split in terms of the revenue. In this year, there are some improvements that are going to be done to the lot itself. Again, if you don't have any questions now, I can answer them when the resolution comes up.
I just want you to clarify for council what the cost of one space in structured parking is.
Sure.
And then we got 70 spaces here.
75.
75, I'm sorry,
Right,
75, right.
So this is one of two leases that you're going to see come to the dais within the next 2 months. The other one is the county lots, in which Executive McClure is submitting to council for approval for 250 spaces. So to answer your question, the two, which equal about 325 spaces, to build those parking spaces would run approximately around $30,000 a space. Or it would just be at 325 spaces, just under $10 million to build. Mind you, this is not the beginning. This is a continuation of the shared concept, because we started it with the marquee for day parking, and then this is a continuation, if you will, of that idea, and to go into evening parking. But that answers your questions, I'm sure.
I'm sorry, are you done, Dr.?
Yeah.
Ms. Campos, you had mentioned at the press conference that you're still in negotiation with some other lots that may be in the city. Are you still talking
Oh, yes.
about that? Okay.
Yeah, we're not prepared to announce
Yeah, I figured that. Yeah.
them right now.
Thank you, though.
The next thing, Dr. Ruggles, this is something that we had worked on some months back. I just want to give you an update. I've asked the Economic Development Department, in planning with myself, obviously, and based on the input that I worked with you on, and also Councilman Brown and Councilwoman Sultana were part of those meetings. We're working on a community roundtable with the agencies that assist during larger catastrophic events, i.e. fires, which we've had here in town. It's something that we want to do at least once a year, or maybe once every other year, where we have a roundtable where we can meet the players, if you will. It's more of a relationship building luncheon that we're going to host, and we're inviting the agencies that would be called in on the MARC, the Multi-Agency Resource Center, that is called upon by our emergency coordinator, and that's Chief Hennings. So we're scheduling that right now. Later on in August, I'll let you know, at Lafayette. So we've got the ball rolling. Invitations are going to go out. We have about 10 agencies that we're inviting, and the idea is to present a case study, if you will, and then just have a meeting. Because what oftentimes happens is we can, from a textbook standpoint, describe what it is that we're going to do, but most importantly, what you need is relationships. So this is an opportunity to have to build relationships, because there's typically turnover in these executive positions. Maybe not every year, but it happens over like so many years, et cetera. So I'll keep you in the loop. We're working on that internally.
Just a point here.
Yep.
I think that's very critical, because I was just talking to the mayor, I don't know, it was this morning or yesterday morning, about how many of our nonprofits, I think, are going to be hurting because of budget reductions.
Yep.
And you know, having them together in a group and talking about what their future, what they see their future is, allows us to understand better their position. And I think that's something that's really critical in that roundtable.
I also, just to piggyback on what Dr. Ruggles said, I think it's also important that we have our county seat there too, in that roundtable.
They're on the list. They're on the list.
Blend each other. Yeah.
Yeah, they're on the list. I'll share it to our little ad hoc group, because part of this then would also create a landing page on the website when issues do happen. There's foundations there, so you know when there's fundraising efforts that come along too, like all these like different little items that pop up. I think ultimately, we want to create relationships, understand the players, so you're able to just text folks too, in addition to turning on the MARC, which is, it's a formal process. The chief calls 911 that starts the alert. But sometimes you need things that are informal as well. And then the last piece is I'd sent to council via email. If you did not look at it yet, you can take a look at your inbox. I sent you the capital improvement plan. Go through it. Take a look at. I'm going to make a slight update to them, just because we hadn't finished the IT portion of it. So I want to submit the IT portion of the capital improvement plan. Yeah, Mazen reminded me of that, but so we were putting this together, and so that'll be a slight update. Council doesn't formally approve it It's for us to discuss it, and have and just be aware of some of the planning efforts. Council approves the budget, so when you look at the 25 column, that's been approved. So, this is for discussion, and we'll be, presenting that on the 22nd. I will have, Dave Hopkins, and ourselves, as well as any of the other directors that have a larger hand in some of the bigger items. So, thank you, that's all I have, Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Campos. There's no correspondence, no unfinished business? Oh, we're going right into, Mr. Pinnabon's report.
Thank you. There was a coordinated press conference with GDP and the Lehigh Valley Iron Pigs held on 7/8, announcing Easton's involvement in the Lehigh Valley Iron Pigs City Connect series. This included the announcement of an Easton-themed game to be played on August 7th and the unveiling of a corresponding Easton-themed jersey and baseball hat that will be worn by the players at the game that can also be purchased by the general public. Also, DCD is working with the Hologram Zoo and Lehigh Valley Chamber of Commerce to coordinate a ribbon cutting. It is no longer this Friday. It's going to be next Friday, the 18th at 10 a.m. downstairs. We submitted for a grant for $762,000 for Larry Holmes Drive pedestrian improvements through the ARLE grant. There's a match from us for $76,200, and that will come from the expected LSA grant. We also applied for a grant of $10,500 through the Appalachian Community Resilience and Response Mini Grant Program. This would be for landscaping improvements to Delaware Canal Park along 611. No match is required. Mayor, if I can ask everybody to look at the screen in front of you or up on the wall. I'm bringing this bill forward that I think would really benefit the city. And I'm gonna make it quick. We'll go through it. It's a workforce housing rental initiative. It's for rentals only, not for home ownership. I've been working on it about 7 months, and it's ready to go, and I hope we'll get the support. As the population development surge in the valley, it is important that localities find creative ways to stay on top of our most pertinent housing issues. The scope and pertinence of the issues requires a multifaceted approach to ensure that our communities remain accessible. Consider the trends in development that have a significant impact on housing and affordability. Number one, influx of new residents, heightened demand on local housing market, increased living costs for local residents, new housing developments cater to higher earners than area's average, and economic stratification. The purpose of my plan is to create and maintain mixed income communities, cultivate reciprocity between developers in the city, ensure opportunity for the essential middle class. So to define workforce housing, what it is the discretion of the locality to decide what the definition of affordability means for their policy program as long as it adheres to HUD standards. The target demographic for workforce housing are the low to mid working class individuals and families, as I refer to the forgotten middle. In other words, those earning 80 to 120% AMI who do not qualify for housing assistance but don't make enough for the current market rates. What it is not, housing created by this initiative is not aimed at serving individuals and families who already receive government assistance. However, a developer may choose to offer their units to low-income residents at or below the 30% AMI. In this way, it is incorrect to assume that such housing initiatives assist only a small group of people. Its primary and secondary benefits stand to impact the community at large. The importance of mixed income neighborhoods, which I'm sure everybody up here should be aware of. Small business, diverse customer base with spending money. Social mobility regarding employment, diversity, a decreased economic segregation, habitability, quality of life, longevity. It attracts families, producing long-term residents, education, access to quality schooling, investment. Quality communities attract investors. Relevant demographics. The City of Easton's demographic and economic background provide the perfect platform for a robust workforce housing initiative. The city has already seen population spikes within the last few years, and with growing development, is projected to exceed 31,000 residents by 2028. 18% of Easton's population remains below the poverty line. 55% of the population are renters. The city's median income is approximately $10,000 below the state average. Therefore, our city represents a largely lower middle-class population. Some of the private developers investing in Easton, Perron, City Center, Ashley, and VM Development, among others. They're the leaders of change in the city, accounting for over $350 million in private investment since 2011. The majority of available units in Easton are newer developments and at the higher end of the area's average. Current units by rent amount. From such private investment and inflation factors, we have seen significant change in cost of housing since 2022, where the average rent in Easton hovered around $11.70. We are anticipating this number will continue to climb with the completion of more high-end developments. Here's the strategy. This approach involves taking advantage of increased developer interest in the city of Easton to collaborate and generate new, affordable housing in high-density development areas. So who would participate? Rental housing developments of 10-plus units and or utilizing public funds and or city property will dedicate 10% of their units to workforce residents. So when we talk about subsidies, public funds, LERTAs, RACPs, PA sites, any type of grant or tax abatement program, they must offer the same variety of units to workforce families with equal size and amenities to market rate units. Affordability. Our defined affordability applies to household earnings between 80 and 120 AMI. For example, the average income for a two-person household is $64,000 to $96,000 a year, making their housing budget between $1,600 a month to $2,400 a month without exceeding their 30% of gross income. Housing trust. There is an opt-out option for the developers. If they decide not to allocate 10% of their units to workforce housing, they will pay a one-time in lieu fee of $10,000 per unit in the building being constructed. For example, the marquee next door, who this wouldn't apply to, 270 units. Their 10% of workforce housing would be 27 units. If they opted out, they would write the check to our land trust for $270,000. The funds will be utilized by the city and the RDA to create workforce and affordable housing. Incentives. Developers who opt in receive public financial assistance, grants, tax abatements, what have you, government subsidy, and relief from certain ordinances. The management of their affordable units through the RDA and Home Easton. Design stipulations. There are a handful of design standards that the ordinance requires to ensure equitable housing quality. Number one, they have to meet the minimum square foot requirements according to existing city codes. Number two, they cannot deviate more than 10% in size to average market rate units of similar type. And three, workforce units must include all the same amenities as offered in market rate units of a similar type, and families must have access to all same building amenities included in base rent leases for market rate residents. Some apartments include the amenities in their rent, some you pay separately. So it would depend on the development with the amenities. At the top, developer funds come into Easton promising population and economic growth. To the right, they add valuable housing stock and new residents to our community. Exercise reciprocity by creating workforce units or funding Easton's Housing Trust. And finally, ensure that Easton remains accessible to long-term residents of all income levels. The Easton Housing Trust. It is crucial that we have a system in place to enable the city to readily utilize the housing trust funds for the well-being of Easton's community. Some of these uses may include creation of designated affordable housing units through infill construction, redevelopment of blighted properties, adapted reuse of vacant obsolete structures, preservation of naturally occurring affordable housing through property purchase and holding, and financial assistance to property owners looking to make crucial improvements and commit to offering affordable units. Food for thought. This is just to put numbers together. Back in 2010, the city had different needs, different goals, but I'm just using this as for numbers. If the city had enacted this proposed ordinance in 2010 when developers began investing in Easton, we would have created 96 units dedicated to workforce housing, or $960,000 in housing trust funds for rehab projects, grants, and new construction across the city. Again, this is for rentals only, not for units that are going to be owner occupied. That's the end of if anybody has any questions, I will answer them.
You and I talked a little bit, Councilman Pinnabone. One concern I have is that we do have some needs in our neighborhoods, including downtown, grocery stores, talked about movie theaters, things that our residents and future residents have noted that, we need things to do, and we need, in certain neighborhoods, there are wants for coffee shops, breakfast nooks, all these things. I think one of my main concerns, although I think this is a creative funding solution, is that we would I'd like to see a way that we could pull something like this back, perhaps, if they were bringing in something on the retail side,
Right.
in one of those categories that we have noted in,
So
perhaps
that's
our
what we talked about the
comprehensive
other day,
plan.
the four of us, and
Yeah.
I went back and looked at it. So just like anything that we do in the city, anybody can come to council for an exception, right? And with the majority of council's approval, there could be exceptions. So if they were going to bring a retail space that we desperately need, like a grocery store in downtown, and they asked for that, we could definitely do that.
Yeah,
It is
that's
flexible.
that would be one of my main concerns, is forgoing some of those needed spaces, because in lieu of them trying to cram in affordable units.
Again, it's flexible to where the majority of council wants. So if that comes forward and the majority of council agree to it, then that's what it would be. I want to also make sure I'm clear. This isn't the solution, right? But our grant writing team in the community and economic development, they're averaging a success rate of 2 out of every 3 grants they apply for. This would just help subsidize that.
Yeah,
You know,
no, they
another.
do a great job for sure.
So they do. So this would just help subsidize it and offer grants to smaller developers on a 2 or 3 unit or things of that nature. But it would be flexible if the council wants it to be.
Just a question. Just a question. Are we looking to take the blight that we have and turn them into workforce rentals?
So currently, I'm going to go back to that, Councilman. There we go. So currently, we have 22 units that are being scheduled to be, that were blighted or new construction, that we're doing workforce and affordable. For example, the old Oliver property on Cooper
Southside,
Street. Correct. One is already being closed on at the end of this month to a first-time home buyer. They lived in Southside for the last 15 years, I believe it was. So we would have the money in the land trust, and number 2 on the list here is redevelopment of blighted properties. So if the city if the RDA can purchase a blighted property, we can use that funds to turn it into workforce housing. Creation of designated affordable. The mayor, his goal is to create 4 units, I believe it's 4, Mayor, on Porter Court. This could be used for that. So new construction, redevelopment of blighted properties, adaptive reuse of vacant obsolete structures, preservation, and financial assistance if somebody needed a smaller grant to create it.
I'm sorry. Just some numbers things, okay?
Yep.
Can you go back to your slide where you have the amount that the range of incomes have? Yeah. Just reading that second column there,
Mhm.
you're telling me that it's the range is between 64 and 96,000.
That's what
And
the HUD numbers are for 2 people.
okay, but then if you, it seems like you're translating that down to the 1,600 and 2,400 as what they could afford basically for rent. Is that what you're saying here?
That's what you're not allowed to exceed the 30% of their income.
But if I take 30%
So it'd be
of
that.
both of those numbers, it's a lot more than than 1,600 and 2,400.
That number's gonna vary too, Dr. Ruggles?
No, but I mean, I'm just saying, take 30% of 96,000, that's over 27,000.
Well, so if right here in the 80% median income, a two-person income can't exceed 64,150, and they wouldn't be able to spend more than 1,600 a month on rent.
Is that national or is that Lehigh Valley?
Well, I'm just saying,
make change.
I'm not sure.
way this is presented,
Yeah.
I'm just saying that,
Yep,
the way
yep.
this is presented, it seems as though you're taking 30%,
I got you.
you're applying it to those two-person household incomes to get what they can afford.
Right. I can
And
rework
if you
the
take 30%
language.
and multiply by those two numbers, it's a lot more than.
Right. Yeah, and I'll pass this around. So 80% for a one person, income can't exceed 56,150, and they couldn't pay more than $1,400 in rent. Two person is 64,150, 1,600. Three person is 72,150, 1,800. Four person is 80,150. They can't exceed, and they couldn't pay more than 2,000. So I will update.
I mean, those
Yep,
numbers
yep,
need
yep.
to be fixed.
I got you.
And I, just like I said earlier, and Councilman Penbone probably look at this.
Can you go back to the rents that the graph you had? I just wanted to see that one more. Yeah.
Doctor, I'm sorry.
So,
sorry.
so, it looks as though that, I don't know if majority, but close to the majority of the rentals are $1,500 or below in the city.
It goes a little bit above 15. I don't know what you consider that 16,
Well, I don't
17,
know how
and
to
below.
do the
Yeah.
graph, but
So
but I
it'll
mean-
be 1,200 to 1,700 is what it looks like.
Yeah.
There. With the average being 1170.
Well, yeah, but I'm saying what is available to, people who can afford a lower rental. And that's what I'm looking at is, you know, if you're going back to that previous slide, we're talking about what can a family afford based upon their income.
Right.
I was just looking to see what, and I appreciate the graph. I just wanted to see the graph once again as to where that division is. So essentially, if incomes of individuals can get up to 1,600, so that they can afford 1,600 or so dollars,
For two people. Yeah.
that would be about the left half of that graph. Roughly.
Yeah, roughly. Center to left. Yeah.
Okay. That's how I just wanted to take
Yep,
a look
yep.
at the graph. See that, yeah.
And I have papers to hand out then.
I think I may have found the issue on that one slide,
Let me go back to it.
if you would.
I am there.
So 30% of the 96,000 is about 28,000. You divide that by 12, and that's where I think the 2,400. Just doing the quick math. So I think that may.
Yeah,
Maybe,
the
I think the
96,000
one is the
both-
total annual versus the monthly.
It's both incomes.
Mark,
No, it's the 96,000 is the annual.
That's both incomes. That's not just one person. It's
Right, but 96,000, but then the 2,400 that's there is basically a monthly amount, which
Right.
is actually it does say that now that I'm reading it.
And Mark, like I said, I think it's important that we look at that because what HUD does, HUD will give you a national on them numbers, and then they will give you your area, and our area will be Lehigh Valley, which is probably going to bring that number down.
So, just to ask you a question, AMI, what does the M stand for?
Median.
Median.
Median income.
So half above and half below, not mean.
Mhm.
Okay.
Also, I just want to mention that I through working on this, my goal or my desire was not to discourage development in the city of Easton. Right. Development has done great for us. The vision of the elected officials and the administration have been great throughout the development. So I met with the developers, worked through this, and they were appreciative. They said they think it's fair, and for the most part, they were supportive of this proposal. And they have said numerous times, including this afternoon on a conversation, because the press got this and started calling them. They said they would still absolutely develop here. I don't think we'll get another 960 units out, but there is still quite a bit of development left if it could be pulled off in the city. and I'm being told it won't discourage them. They think it's more than fair. Any other questions? All right. Very much so. Very much so. So it's definitely legal. There are other municipalities in PA that do other things if you get state subsidies. They require other things. I also reached out to DCD in Harrisburg and the governor's office numerous times to make sure there wouldn't be an issue because these grants and things come from them, and they said there was no issue. So similar things are being done elsewhere in the state. Not so much this, but state senators in Scranton require you do a certain thing that they want in their community in order to get any type of assistance. So I'm taking that pattern, if you will, and putting it here. It's only for people that are developers that are getting subsidies. So if a developer is going to build something out of pocket with loans, I have no say. But if they're getting grants or tax breaks or anything, we're asking them to help us create these housing, these properties for our residents. No, they're separate. Housing Authority is separate from us. I can't even get a conversation with the director, so I don't know what they're doing. So housing, we have over 600 units that accept Section 8, that accept housing. And then we have luxury apartments. People that can afford that, they figure it out on their own. What we don't have is that missing middle class. The people that make above $30,000 a year so they can't get housing or Section 8, but they don't make enough to pay for the high-end rent. The forgotten middle class that always gets left out of everything. That's who we're focusing, who I'm focusing on this plan.
And the other side of that is that Section 8 is going away. They've been trying to get it away for a while, but anybody that's on the rolls now, will stay on the rolls, they're taking no new people, and they haven't in the last 10 years.
So, if I may, we don't discriminate because we don't own the properties. We don't own any of the developments, right? Like the city never built anything. We don't have a say. I'm not aware of the governor's, unless he's proposing it. There's no law that says they have to provide Section 8 like apartments for that. So what I'm asking is that. Sorry, again.
That's the housing federal government has.
Hold on. I can't hear both. Hold on.
The federal government has their own program, which is called 202 program, which is a program set aside for a 70-30. 70% of the occupancy is market rate, 30% of the occupancy is 30% or lower. I never said that, Jackie. I'm only trying to clarify so everybody understands the programs that they are there. I'm giving information.
All right. And I will double check. But as I said, I reached out to his office numerous times about this to make sure everything was okay because it's their funds and they signed off on it. No, I didn't ask him. I didn't know that was a thing, but we'll look into that. All right. Mayor, I'm sorry.
Just a question, because I think, I'm all for this, okay, I'm saying that, but one of the things that kind of troubles me a little bit is looking at this range of $1,600, $2,400 a month that's applied to that 80 to 120%.
Right.
Okay. If we look back at that previous graph that you showed,
So let me say,
that's over half of the. That's over half,
So-
way over half.
I think we could change the way in the column we worded. So the way it was set up was the 64,150 is two people at 80% of the median income. The 96,240 is two people at 120% of the median income.
Right.
Right. So
So
could have broken it out differently.
But I agree with Mark. I mean, if the numbers here, 1,600 and 2,400 are correct.
Right.
But my point is this: is that over half of our housing, rentable housing in the city, by the graph, falls in that range. Over half of the city.
Correct.
And I mean, to me, I mean, you're going to have some apartments that are above that, but I mean, if you look up to $2,400, that's probably 80% of this graph.
Right.
I
But
mean,
if you look
why
at,
would we want to? I'm just being a difficult advocate here. Why would we want to increase this? I mean, we already got it. It's here.
right. So if you look back in this slide at the bottom, the anticipation is these numbers are going to climb significantly higher. And these are the numbers that we're seeing when our department did research. However, I know personally the majority of our apartments in Southside and the West Ward are significantly higher than the 1170, right? But that's the median there. We don't have any development coming right now, but this policy is going to hold for the future. So when those do raise, now as far as these numbers, that's HUD standards, right? So we didn't dictate them, we just took them from what HUD is putting in place. But if you look at the 4-person 120, none of these developments are suited for 4 people.
Oh,
You know,
no.
if you look at the 3-person, they're not suitable.
Right.
They're 1 and 2 person.
Right.
And you know, the 240, 2,400 for a 2-person at 96,240 cannot exceed 2,400, and that's with utilities included. So if you look at the 64, you're saying 2 people, 1,600 a month, but with utilities included. So their rent is about 1,000 to 1,100 a month. So for example, and again, just using Marquee because it's right here, a 1-bedroom at the Marquee is like 1,700 a month, where under this program it would be 11 and then about 300 for your utilities. So you see what I'm saying? That's where we're you know, it's the utilities and things are applied into that as well, not just the rent. Amy, you had a question? Right. Right. Correct.
Well,
Sorry.
I understand, but I mean, the problem is that we're not comparing apples and oranges here. I mean, we're not recognizing in this data, we're not recognizing what the true cost is.
No,
Just
not if
looking
you
at rent.
include utilities
Okay.
and things, right?
Yeah, I mean,
Right, if we're not-
think
yeah.
including the utilities, including whatever it costs to be in that apartment or whatever, okay, that's what we should see, because that's what's being compared to that person's net income, all right?
Right. If the insulation in your house is better or not, your heat's running longer, your air conditioner. So I didn't just want to dive into that because, I mean, we could have the same house. Mine's older and the envelope isn't as good, so I'm having leakage and my heat's running a lot more than yours. So these are just base rent numbers.
I understand
Just
that.
without the utilities
Yeah,
in
you got it,
place.
yeah.
Any other questions?
Yes.
Wow. Wow.
I I agree with you to a certain extent, and I'll let the mayor chime in if he so chooses to. I think one issue we have in the city is we look very, very good, right? We've done a great job. We look very, very good. But if you peel that back, we are still, Mayor, we're not a rich city. 40% of our property is tax exempt. Where's the number I have here? Nope, 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 nope. So 55% of the population are renters. The city's median income is $10,000 below the state average. So when we talk about developers, and I've had this conversation today with Amy here on the phone, there's a real need for what the developers are bringing. So I think we need each other. I don't think we need to give a whole hell of a lot, but there is a need of increasing the tax base, bringing in EIT tax, because we are not a rich city. We look extremely wealthy from the outside. When people come around, they think how great everything is. And our mayor and elected officials and administrators haven't increased property tax in 18 years. I don't know any other municipalities in the area, and we go to the conference of whatever, all these events with all the different elected officials. They don't know how we've done it, right? They're doing 2%, 3%, 4% every year, and we're doing great without putting that on the residents. Well, a lot of that is from this development. So it wasn't to put a strain on the developers, because we still need the developers, but we need some help. Is 260 from one developer going to do much? No. But as I said earlier, we're averaging a success rate of 2 out of every 3 grants we apply for. Currently, under the mayor, we have 22 units that are being constructed or rehabbed to go for home ownership or rental for this middle class that we're talking about. So 260 or 960, 270 or 960 helps supplement that, right? We still have money coming in. We're help supplementing that and still acknowledging that the developers do serve a huge need for us in the city. I mean, we were just talking today in 23, our garbage went up $2 million for the year. And our administrator and the mayor brought us a plan to where we didn't have to put all that on the taxpayer. So, you know, I want to be careful of just telling the developers, we don't need you and this and that, because, you know what I mean? Maybe at one point, you know, I just don't think we're there now currently. So I think working together is going to accomplish a lot more for us than saying our way or the highway.
I like what you said too, in reference to home ownership. One of the things that home ownership brings, it brings family wealth, and that's something that we don't talk about enough. You know, it can come from generation to generation when we start owning, and then our next generation comes to start to own, and we're creating family wealth.
And I agree with the councilman, myself, Lewis, the mayor, and Councilwoman Rose had this discussion the other day about wanting more home ownership. It's not for me to say, but there's a developer that has plans for Easton for what, 77? For 78 homes for sale.
No, they're not homes, they're condos.
Condos, pardon me.
It's still an apartment.
For sale. It's still an apartment, but it's still ownership. It's still promoting ownership. So we're on the same page as it comes to home ownership. But this is something that's going to, yeah, but it's definitely something I think is going to help the people that need the help get it rolling, so when development comes in, we can take advantage of it. And we're always looking for other ways to improve and do better.
Yeah, I would agree. The homeownership opportunity is 100% what we need. And, you know, as we look at the comprehensive plan project, that's something that, you know, I'm hoping comes to the forefront in community discussions. Certainly when I talk to residents and even new residents downtown, they don't plan to stay in these apartments forever. So I would hope that they would have that opportunity at some point to be a long-term resident and to have that opportunity to build their own equity as well. So yeah. So I'm hopeful that, and I'm also glad to see that this plan does not nick any of the developers who are trying to put in those home ownership opportunities as well.
This wouldn't apply to them, only renters. So if you're building homes for sale, this wouldn't apply to you. You can get the subsidies and without us interfering.
And I think the other part is, you know, just like many of the nonprofit partners who are facing funding issues, we've got to look at creative solutions as well to keep these affordable housing projects going. And you know, is it a lot of money? I agree. No, but any little bit helps. Even if we can build one more house, we should try to do
The problem
it.
with affordable housing is it costs the same amount of money to build a house, whether you're building it for poor people or rich people. The price of lumber is too high right now. So what happens is we build houses. Right now, Shiloh's building 6 houses on the south side. It's costing them $225,000 to build them, and they're selling them for $175,000. Who funds that $50,000 delta? The government. They're coming to us for handouts. I don't know that we can do that. The federal government's not doing it, that's for sure. But you can't come up with $50,000 per unit to cover the delta between what it costs to build it and what they want to sell it for. Exactly. That's our goal. That's what we.
I mean, Shiloh's doing. We talk about their 100 units on South Side. They're doing 7 townhomes for sale, and they're trying to sell it for $225. The first-time home buyers and the working PHFA, and there's still a gap of like almost $50,000 to $70,000 that they have to make up, and that's just the bare minimum. You know what I mean? And I can tell you, we've been to Harrisburg, we've been all over, and we don't know if we're going to secure those funds to close that gap to make it that way. So, you know, we're working on it, but you know, it's definitely a heavy lift for us.
And the other problem is the paradigm shift. I'm sorry, I'm not young. I want to own a house. But the young people don't want cut grass, shovel snow. They don't want maintenance. They want to rent. My son-in-law rents. He will not buy a house. He rents because he doesn't want to do anything. He doesn't know how to cook on a grill.
No picnic.
He rents a townhouse for $2,400 a month, and he doesn't care about it. He just throws away $30,000 a year.
So no other questions, Mayor. I'm finished.
You're not finished. You're just starting.
That's true. That
All
is
right.
true.
We'll move on to the agenda. We're on new business.
All right. We have a resolution approving the sale of 2 police vehicles to the Easton Area School District.
Move to approve.
Second.
Louis, who came up with the sale price?
It comes from typically the garage. We do an internal appraisal. I mean, we've been pretty good at it.
Well, they better go out and price cars because those used cars are not cheap anymore.
Nope.
No, they're not.
I mean, the school district doesn't have a problem charging us $1,000 a day to rent Cottingham Stadium to have an A gun for kids.
I mean, we don't have to do this. This is just a request from the administration. We could also put it
I'm
out
just
for.
saying, I looked at the price and I'm saying $2,000 for a car? Cost me more than that for tires.
There was a.
That's the truth.
Yeah, there was.
That car doesn't come with tires or an engine.
There were
That's
two
just,
resolutions in there. One of them was an
Well,
old one.
old one, yeah, I saw that one. I saw Rita's signature.
Yeah, Peter Milan introduced it. But was that the one for 2,000? I thought the one recent was 7.
Well, I don't know what the new one's. The new one, they didn't have a price.
I thought it was 7. On mine it said 7.
7,000.
if,
7,000.
Two of them.
For 2.
Both,
No,
yeah.
just-
So that means they're $3,500 each.
don't say it.
Oh,
Let it go.
total was 7. That's pretty cheap.
Oh, wait, hold on. All right, go ahead. Go ahead.
I said, who set those prices and how?
That's what I'm trying to ascertain.
We
The
typically.
mechanics at the garage.
We typically do, this the way we always set the prices. Like I usually ask the head mechanic.
Based on mileage.
Yeah, it's based on market, the mileage, et cetera.
Blue book, you gotta go.
That's exactly it.
well, if this resolution is correct, maybe it was because it's October 26, 2022, and it's being introduced by Peter Milan.
That's
So-
the old.
That's,
Yeah.
That
that's
was the old.
Oh, that's
not
the old
valid.
one. Oh, okay, just want to make sure, because that's what I see.
Knowledge.
That's what I see in what I was provided.
Are you satisfied with that answer,
Yeah, total was 7,000.
Tyba?
Yes.
Okay, total for 2 cars is $7,000.
That's enormously cheap.
Very cheap.
Do you want to table it, Mayor?
No, I don't want to table it. I just want to know how. If the mechanic came up, we got to do something about the mechanic because we're going to be selling a lot of cars.
Let's,
He wants to buy them.
Mayor, there's no hurry. Let's
Buy a whole fleet.
table
We
it.
used to have a public auction
We still do.
for everything other than vehicles.
We just had one last year at the
I
end
know
of
we
last
did.
year.
We got $15,000 for $30,000 worth of equipment.
Got half that.
It's a request that came in.
We
through-
get more for the bicycles than we do for the cars.
He's not talking about yours, Louis.
Mayor, we can auction it off, and then if we get $2,000, I mean, this came in as a.
No,
this,
but
this,
you put a floor on it.
I get it. Usually, with what happens with the vehicles, especially with the police vehicles, is that they're outfitted specifically for the city of Easton, so that devalues their overall
Well,
value.
that's probably what they want to use it for. They're forced.
They do.
They want to do
Yeah.
that.
I mean, there are multiple car dealerships that you just call them up and tell them what you have, and they'll tell you how much they'll give you. And I guarantee you, it's going to be more than $3,500 for each one of them.
Why don't we table this? I don't.
Huh?
Why don't we table this, and I can come back with additional
All
information.
right.
Then motion. to
Yeah, I'd
table.
just like to know how many miles are on it. I mean, they're both police vehicles, so there's probably over 100, close to 200,000 miles on them.
Yeah, they're typically over their life expectancy.
All right, I move the table. Second. To the next meeting. Second. Moved in second discussion. Roll call.
Mrs. Rose?
Aye.
Dr. Ruggles?
Aye.
Mayor Panto?
Aye.
Mr. Brown?
Aye.
Mr. Ettinger?
Aye.
Mr. Pinnabone?
Aye.
Mrs. Sultana? Thank you. Let's see, resolution approving the right-of-way encroachment agreement between the city of
We
Easton.
took that off the agenda.
I didn't think we did it under the official.
Yeah, I think you have to move now to table to the next meeting,
Motion to table.
Okay, move the table.
Second.
and it's gonna have to be amended anyway when you present it with the details.
I'm sorry, was the chief's letter in, as part of the packet?
Yes.
Okay, I just wanted to make
Second
sure,
table.
because there is some of the details that you're requesting, it was in the packet, so I'm assuming you're asking, you want additional detail outside of the packet.
Well, I think the points that, the solicitor brought up too are valid and need to be addressed, right?
I think we're talking about two different things. The obelisk,
Still talking about the,
Oh.
He's going
cars.
back to the car.
Cars, okay.
yeah,
I'm sorry.
but if it's part of the package, I'd just like to know, I used the link to get my package. It doesn't have any of those
I
attachments.
didn't have those attachments.
That's what I was asking.
They were all together.
I didn't have it.
No,
Not in
doesn't.
my packet. I printed it out.
All right, so maybe
got
that's,
the link.
maybe that's part of the confusion. So,
Okay.
we can table it, but there was a letter detailing last several sales and also the last average sales of the vehicle and some other detail that the chief put together.
Sure.
Um,
I've read it. But it wasn't, it's not printed out
All right,
from the link.
Oops, sorry.
all right, I just want to make sure it wasn't an administrative oversight. The detail was in, that's why you guys didn't know maybe some of this information, yeah. I was assuming that you guys knew it and you were asking additional questions.
Joel, did you see it online?
I mean, I'm looking at it right now. You know, I go to council packet
Mm-hmm.
and I get the agenda and I mean, I have all the material. I don't have an exhibit A if that was included for the obelisk. And I didn't have anything from the police chief or anything.
You didn't see, because I'm looking at his online, and it's there.
Okay. I don't know.
They're using the average of the last 4 patrol cars
I can show you what
we have
happened.
sold at the auction for $4,000. Well, who said that's the price?
Oh, I see. I got it.
You have it?
Sorry.
That's okay.
I mean, at that price, I say crush them.
Mayor,
He's picking it
all
up.
right, listen,
It takes 3 days. It says
Oh.
here in the chief's letter, it says it takes 3 days to just take all the graphics off, all the decals. May as well crush it.
Right.
And you don't have to worry about taking them off 3 days. One mechanic working.
so in addition to the letter that was written, I'll see if we can get you any more information.
Okay.
All right, it's already tabled. So,
Okay, it's tabled. All right, so, and we tabled the resolution for the encroachment.
right,
Yeah.
Okay. And we need to do, did we do a roll call?
No.
Okay, do you want a roll call for that, for the, table? Mrs. Sultana?
Aye.
Mrs. Rose?
Aye.
Dr. Ruggles?
Aye.
Mayor Panto?
Aye.
Mr. Brown?
Aye.
Mr. Ettinger?
Aye.
Mr. Pinnabone?
Aye.
And the last item is a resolution approving a lease agreement between the City of Easton and K3 Holdings LLC.
So moved.
Second.
Moved in second. Any discussion? Roll call.
Mrs. Rose?
Aye.
Dr. Ruggles?
Aye.
Mayor Panto?
Aye.
Mr. Brown?
Aye.
Mr. Ettinger?
Aye.
Mr. Pinnabone?
Aye.
Mrs. Sultana?
Aye.
Thank you.
Okay, at this point in the meeting, we're at the public comment on any matter concerning the city of Easton. Anybody would like to address city council? I see none.
Move to adjourn.
Mayor, one question. It's directed to Solicitor Joel Shear. July 4th was just around the corner, so we heard about the fireworks. I know it's legal in PA. I know the issue we're having. I just had a question. Similar to the opioid, right, using that as an analogy. What if we gathered the municipalities throughout the Commonwealth and filed suit to these people at these warehouses that sell the
You know, there are attorneys who handle these class actions, and they do very well, and that's what you'd have to look at, as someone who knows how to put that together and can establish that I mean, it's going to be tricky because they're going to have hidden things from the public because it's a licensed activity. I mean, you'd have to, it's like the government should be held responsible then for allowing this. I mean, this is from the state. I mean, I think it would be a stretch, frankly, but.
I'm all in favor of the tariffs. Put the tariffs on China at 250%, and it'll raise the price and nobody will be able to afford them. It's the only thing I agree with Mr. Trump, President Trump.
Yeah, but fireworks are exempt. But no, I don't know that. But probably would.
Didn't they also, and I'm asking, you might not know, but didn't they also do it with tobacco, which is legal?
These lawsuits came about very, very late in the game, mostly from the people who represented the victims. That's how the tobacco lawsuits came in. Governments becoming parties to these lawsuits is sort of a new thing, and you know, I can't begin to tell you whether anyone would be able to put together the kind of money you'd have to put together to establish the knowledge and the fact that somehow all of their licenses were under some type of misdirection or misleading matters. Remember, the whole opioid thing came about because there was outright lying to the government to get their licenses in the first place. So you'd have to find some underpinning where somehow these companies showed that these fireworks actually don't ignite, and they said, well, if they don't ignite, then it's fine. But if they know what fireworks are, and the government said it's okay to do it, and not only that, it's so okay to do that we'll allow people from out of state to buy it, so they could go out of state to do it, but we're not going to allow people in the state to do it until they change that too. The government will have immunity for a whole category. You got to look at the actual Immunity Act and see, like, City of Easton is not immune when somebody falls on a property that we own, but although we also have limitations as to how much exposure. The federal government or state government? Yeah, I mean, all sovereigns have immunity, and we now realize that the president of the United States has super immunity.
So we have to wait.
Godlike powers.
A city block in the West Ward or South Side burn up.
Well, and you may,
Again, you mean?
we is not the city. You have to wait till the residents come together and bring in action for their own personal injuries, and there's a good chance they're not going to win, and no one's going to take the case.
On the fireworks issue, I got all the complaints as well. All I think we need to do is get the state to say that the property owner is responsible. You know, right now, the way the law reads, the police officer has to see the person lighting the fuse. Well, they don't get to it after it explodes. Well, the lights are flashing all over.
That's what I mean. It's hard for them to see them light.
But that's the only.
Well, you're correct. The only way you have to make all these things enforceable somehow, and prove that you're able to prove these things.
So the law says you can't launch them within 150 feet of a building. But we know they're being launched because the police officer can't cite the person, so they see them actually light the fuse. Well, that's not, hold the property owner accountable. I think that's the easiest way. All right, roll call.
Dr. Ruggles?
Aye.
Mayor Panto?
Aye.
Mr. Brown?
Aye.
Mr. Eddinger?
Aye.
Mr. Pinnabone?
Aye.
Mrs. Sultana? And Mrs. Rose?
Aye.
Can I ask you all to wait a minute then? See if someone wanted to have